You know, you probably haven't noticed, but I don't think the way most people think. At 44, there are so many things, so many ways that people react that I have come to understand in a way that to me doesn't really count as understanding. It's heuristical. It's just like, oh yeah, they do that. But why does it make sense? It doesn't. Some of those have become clear, I guess, if I was to be less flippant and comical. Not that it was funny about it. Um, I've seen, oh yeah, there's an evolutionary reason or whatever, but that's just a stretch to kind of say that they all must have that kind of reason. I mean, I kind of assume that, but I don't see them. Seem self-destructive, in other words, like if there is a good reason, it's something that doesn't apply anymore, and now it's just gone off the rails or something. But see, that's sort of condemning. That's not what I meant to do. I mean, really, I just feel different. Like, as long as I can coexist with them, then there's no real conflict. Um, yeah, I take contradiction etymologically to be when two different things are being said. Dict, said. Um, but the thing is, one thing is funny is some people think I'm aggressive. And I don't think so. I think I'm overly passive, and I've compensated so that I can keep up my own. On the other hand, probably it's true. Because, for example, I mean, one of my favorite things is professionally, if I go into a meeting really strongly believing something to discuss that something, and everybody else in the room disagrees with me, I enjoy that. I enjoy that if everybody ends up agreeing my ideas on the subject have to be taken into account and my solution is correct. I enjoy it if it turns out that I relent because something is brought up to show I have to adjust my thinking. And I even enjoy it if I'm right but nobody sees it. And I would say that's the least rare. That I put them in the order. Generally, in that situation, uh, we go with what I'm saying, or over time on various teams I've been on, or second most likely is I realize, oh, it's not fitting, it's not an apt solution. And then I can't ever remember it happening well, I can remember one or two times it happening where it was like I couldn't convince them. And I would hope that sounds egotistical, except for the fact of the matter is I don't often feel that way. I don't often feel that strong, like, oh my God, this has to happen. Very rare. I'm not eager to have that feeling. I will give an opinion that is half-baked. I don't think there's any problem with that. I will try to say, hey, this is half-baked, or let's brainstorm. But when you say ideas like that, you see the problems, or at least some of them, and you come up with a better idea. But no matter what idea I come up with, I am willing to adapt it and change it. That's why my ideas have gotten fairly robust. It's hard to come up with something that that I haven't heard on the ideas that I have already paid attention to. I mean, it's not necessarily hard in general. You can bring up tons of ideas that I've heard nothing about, haven't thought about. But I mean, like, issues that we have thought about here. And people are like, well, that makes me look stubborn if that's what they talk to me about. If they talk to me about things I don't know as much about, then I don't seem as stubborn. It's like, is it really that I am a certain way, or maybe our relationship due to the subject we're relating on? The Rubik's Cube was a humbling thing to me because at 13, I really wanted to solve it myself, and I had to use the booklet, and it was humbling because, not because I couldn't figure it out, there's plenty of things, but because it was something I wanted to figure out. And in the end, that was more important to me to be able to do it and get a handle on that so that I could understand it better than it was to understand it the real and proper way, according to me, which is to learn it yourself, your own way. So I basically had to admit at the time, it may or may not be true, that I couldn't solve it. And it may or may not be true, but I wasn't willing to solve it myself, so it was humbling. Because I like Legos, for example, and I have almost never done the Lego instructions, only 2 times. One, I have done Lego instructions for other people that really like to do Lego instructions. It's like, okay, you want to build a thing. And that has happened just a couple times. And even then, I usually get bored. It don't help. Because that's boring. The other time is when I got Lego Mindstorms and there were complicated robots, and I followed the instructions that time. So we could try those things out. But, so I'm not big on the instructions in that way. Now, I do read the manual. I always read through the manual, but I don't do the tutorials. Like, if I'm following a tutorial the few times I would try to do that, I change it. I don't do the tutorial. I name things the way I want to name them, and I try a different example than what they're trying. This just uses the same parts of the library or whatever, see. So it was humbling, you know. But in the end it helped me because I have a philosophy of art, you know. Life is art, you know, because, okay, I believe in engineering. Life is productivity. But the beauty of art is that art is a kind of personal judgment of productivity, and since life is ultimately by objective criteria, without such, it has no objective criteria. You know, the fact that art exists, that you can create meaning in something that doesn't aid survival directly, means that you can have meaning, even if life entirely was meaningless by some people's criteria of meaning, which it is. It's not my criteria. You can still have artistic meaning, and that's good enough. So, yeah. So, these are some of the ways I think. I mean, other things that are not typical of the way I think are probably more widely shared than they are admitted. Things like, you know, I don't really like compliments and stuff like this. So, anyway, anybody thinks that I'm aggressive, I'll just rip their head off. No, I'm not aggressive. Come on, that's a dirty lie. Okay, cheers.